Respected President of the function, Dr. S. Savitri, my good friend, Chief Executive Officer of Startup Mission, Sri Anu Pampika, Dr. Devendra Reddy Kalva, Sri Venkataraman, Sri Praveen Raj, Dr. M. Ravi, delegates, invitees, startups, and potential startups. It's great to be here today, to be a part of this one lab, 1 week program, and it is so heartening that the first program is actually on a downstream. Generally, when you think about a research laboratory and when we conduct programs, we always start at the R&D side and we speak about the facilities, etc. But it's so nice to see that NIIST has actually broken that thing and started from the other end, which I believe is the mood of the day and the mood of the nation itself in the country, because translation is actually being the key element for us to drive into the next wave of growth. We know that in the last few years, India has grown leaps and bounds in the startups. We have close to around 120 unicorns. We are the third largest ecosystem in the world as far as number of startups are concerned. But there is a concern. The concern is that even though in numbers we have still a very large number of startups across the country, if you look at the impact they have made, or if you measure on the impact startups in the country, we ranked I think 21 or 22. There's a ranking which looks at how much this has actually created deep tech products which has created larger amount of profitability and things like that. We are still at a lower level, much smaller, much below some of the smaller countries even in Europe. So the question is that how do we solve that? It's important that we need to have not only number, but we also have to have high quality startups person. And this is also relevant because our Honorable Prime Minister on August 15 this year actually gave a challenge to the country, saying that the next 25 years, India has to really grow very fast, at least at around 12 to 13% per annum, to really make ourselves as a really developed country, close to a $30 trillion economy by 2047. So to do that, we really require companies which actually shows non-linear growth path. Companies which solves the problem around us, but at the same time they grow very fast. I think that is basically where the startups comes into picture. It is not the startups which only work on the top line. Those who are not from the startup world, top line primarily means only the sales, but the startups which also makes impact and the profit. That is the type of startups which we require. To do that, we really require startups with good amount of IP in their developmental process. And that can happen once we start unlocking the IPs available in our laboratories and universities and research centers. The institutions like NIIST hold huge amount of IP and products, and like Madam said that many times people outside may not even know that there is so much of a wealth of information, there is so much of wealth of people with high amount of knowledge is available in these research institutions. And that is the link I believe this startup conclave is trying to bridge on. How do we actually unlock the IPs available? How do we actually make that IPs available to be commercialized? How do we actually ensure that India will have more number of non-linear companies which actually have got depth both at the quality of products they make as well as the impact it makes. And this is, I think, the issue, or it's a challenge in front of us. But when we look at this, there are also some of the aspects which we need to solve on. In the presidential address, Dr. Savitri mentioned that when any small or big company comes with a specific problem, NIIST is there to support and solve them, which I'm sure that many people have actually used also. The next stage is that how do we actually take the output from the research laboratories and convert them into commercial establishments. That is also happened in some level, but this has to be scaled up. Now here there is a small challenge. The challenge is that many times when a research institution is developing a product or an IP, they may be at a lower level of technology readiness level. There may be some technologies which may be at a higher technology readiness levels, which actually easily get translated. And I'm sure that in the history of NIIST and other CSIR, there are many products like that, which is actually being immediately commercial. But there are many others in the labs which are still not at the level of commercialization. It's much earlier than that. And many times, such products, if you commercialize, actually give you an innovation, because they are still not in the market. They are much earlier in the market. So if you can actually take them into the market in a very successful manner, you can actually create non-linear enterprises. In Trivandrum, there is an example, not from NIIST, but from another institution called Sri Institute of Science and Technology. Way back, technology has been transferred from that to a smaller company, a smaller startup. And today that startup is actually one of the world's largest company in the specific place which they are working on. It's based in Trivandrum only. Several examples like that are available. But you don't still have enough number when you compare to the amount of IP which is produced in the laboratories are concerned. So what is the issue? The issue is that when a technology from a lab is being taken into the field by a startup company, there are a lot of configuration changes have to be done. There's a lot of times it has to go on an iterative process, up and down. And there's a chance that we all know that around 80% of the company, 80% of the technologies which is developed in laboratories may not really become commercially successful, because there are challenges when you get into the market. So there is a risk of failure there. The question we need to ask is that who will take that risk of failure? Will the laboratory take the risk of failure, or the startup take the risk of failure? This question is something which is unanswered. And because this is unanswered, not only here, across the country, some of you may be knowing about Agni, which was one of the initiatives of Government of India to take technologies from the research labs into the field. But again, Agni very soon realized that they cannot have the bandwidth to take technologies at early PRL levels to the market. And they concentrated on technology level 7 or 8 and then translated it. But as I said, if you really wanted to unearth the real wealth which is available in laboratories, we really need to create models to support this translation. And that is a context in which recently Kerala government has come out with a new scheme where any startup or any company who works with a research lab like NIIST or any of the other labs and take a technology into the market, the risk of failure will be underwritten by the government. I don't think in the country, other than NRDC doing something, no other such attempts have been done. So my request to many of you here is that please visit the laboratories here. Understand what are those technologies available. Some of them may be much earlier level. But those which are at the earlier levels are the ones which, if they hit the market, are going to make a big difference. Because once you take a mature technology and go out, you are not the only one who is taking it out. There are many others who will take it out along with you. So naturally, they become a commoditized technology. A innovative technology is something which is a much earlier level of a TRL. So you have an opportunity to take it up. At the same time, you don't have to have the fear of failure, because there is a model which we have now curated. Because many of us who are working in this space, and I'm sure that Anu will supplement this later, are actually really concerned that so much of interesting wealth and so much of interesting products have been there, but they are not hitting the market. It's high time that India has to unearth this. Like our earlier principal scientific advisor to the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Vijayaraghavan, says, so much of dark fiber in this country. If we can light those dark fiber, that dark fiber will actually make India shine like anything. And that is what I think we need to do in this Amritkal. If really Amritkal has to be translated into action, it is time that we need to create several knowledge-based, IP-based startups which leverages on the technologies developed by the laboratories like NIIST. I'm extremely happy that I could play a very small role in this startup conclave. I'm sure that the deliberations today, the panel discussions, and your visits to the laboratories will certainly help you to identify several newer technologies which can actually grow into non-linear enterprises in the days to come. Let me wish this conclave all the very best, and let me formally declare this startup conclave open. Thank you very much.